This is Colin Dixon with nScreen Media, and I'm here in Denmark speaking with Claus Bülow Christensen, who is the organizer of the Future TV conference. Claus, it's been 5 years since Netflix entered the Danish market, and it's had a pretty big effect over those years, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's really had a great impact on the whole local TV industry. The interesting thing is that you have to remember that 5 years ago, Netflix were only in the UK and in Canada, outside of the States. So the Nordic countries were actually the first kind of European area that Netflix really kind of attacked or invaded, so to say. I remember that we predicted that Netflix would probably come to Denmark in 14, 15, something like that, and then they came already in 12. At that time, no one really took Netflix serious on the local market. We didn't have any kind of streaming services similar to that, and the local broadcasters were not really into streaming yet. So we saw also a period of, I think, 1, maybe 2 years where still people in the industry didn't really think that this American thing would be anything. You also have to take into consideration that the catalog were very limited at that time. It was a much bigger catalog on the American market. But I think it all started then with the House of Cards effects. When that came out, people in the local industry said, okay, these guys, they mean something really serious with their streaming businesses. And then gradually it started also, the cable, shaving, the cable cutting in the industry in general, which is, I think, the most important impact. We also got HBO Nordic, a special version of the American HBO on our market. And today I think the penetration figures is something like 15% for HBO and almost 40% for Netflix. So Netflix has become extremely popular viewing in Denmark. Yeah.
And it's had SVOD viewing in general, but Netflix in specific has had a huge impact on the balance between traditional linear television and SVOD viewing, hasn't it?
It has indeed, yeah. So you can see what our traditional linear TV has really been going down a lot. People spend more and more time on the streaming services. But then again, Netflix kind of educated both the users and the broadcasters. This is kind of the future of viewing, that the linear and the traditional cable distribution had now got a kind of replacement, that the internet were good enough to actually distribute TV, both TV shows, live TV, and especially showing. You have to also say, in a country like this, American TV shows have always obviously been very, very popular, something that you saw on your local broadcasters, and you don't do that anymore. They have kind of had to go away from that market at all, and they don't really buy TV shows anymore. They do produce them themselves, because the market for American television shows is now supplied almost primarily by Netflix and HBO.
Yeah, the viewing of linear TV has fallen dramatically, hasn't it? It's gone from, I think I saw some wiki numbers that said 84% of what people watched was linear in 2014, and it's fallen to 64% in just that short period of time. And this has forced broadcasters like TV2 to do some pretty dramatic things, hasn't it?
Yeah, because it came really fast that people went away from the linear experience to the streaming experience. And again, it was kind of Netflix setting the bar really high for what the quality could be like, and the whole way of doing it, also being able to do that on all kind of devices. So the local broadcasters, which still are very, very popular programming, now actually supply streaming services a lot like Netflix. So a lot of what people used to see on linear TV on the local broadcasters are now being consumed as streaming instead. And you're right, yeah, especially TV2 with their TV2 Play service are supplying something as the CBS service that you have in the States.
CBS All Access, yeah.
Yeah, CBS All Access. A service a bit like that. I think they even started before CBS did, with both providing linear TV and all the catalog that they have in a very fine and well-functioning streaming app that's available on many devices.
And I know TV2, one of the things that they've done is they've really focused on the young, and the young is where this is really most sharply felt, right? They're the ones that are bailing on traditional television and moving to the new streaming services. And this is almost a cultural war, right? A war for your the minds, hearts and minds of the young.
Yeah, we always also because that it is we love American programming and stuff and movies and shows and so on. But there's a lot of people also having really big worrying a lot about, isn't this a kind of American cultural invasion of our country, and even and especially now where you can see that young people are consuming even more American stuff than they've ever been doing due to the streaming services, which has also taken a big chunk of the revenue in general on the market. We have seen an increase in viewing time in general, but the figures goes as high for Netflix now today, taking like 10% of the whole revenue.
10% of total TV revenues in Denmark.
And if you put it together with HBO, which is again fairly popular, also the HBO Nordic version, those two services together is almost like 15% of what used to be the TV market in this country. So in those 5 years, this has been a dramatic change in where money come from and where money go. And then again, we have to take into consideration that the whole general market has also been growing in that period.
Yeah. Well, pretty dramatic changes, and this, of course, is something that you'll be talking about at the Future TV conference next May, right?
It's really still a very, very hot issue in the industry, even though it's 5 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I'll be there. I'll be there at the conference as always.
See you, Colin.
Thank you. This has been Colin Dixon with nScreen Media.